All right. Okay. Welcome back. So in the previous video, we covered a lot about the perspectives of the conflict theory and what are the processes and the outcomes of the neoliberal system, and described what are the bases and what are the policies with the neoliberal system as economic policy, and also the health or government policies. All right, so instead of the neoliberal regime as an economic system, in general, to promote the general level of the health condition in the United States or other countries, the national health program will be very required to improve the general level of health, because the national health program is very different from the current healthcare system in the United States, because it focuses on the general level and the whole level of protection of the citizens in the country. So public policy, and there are many rooms of the interventions to all kind of the inequalities, and health inequalities and economic inequalities and the cultural inequalities like that, and secure and favor conditions during the early stages of life course, which means from the beginning of the life, as the birth weight and the condition of the health conditions of the health from the infant period and the toddler and the childhood. They are favoring more interventions, more vaccination, and more protection based on their nutrition and more care services. So healthcare interventions, they believe, that promotes health. So that will be the possibility. And in the first week, for first week of March, we will cover more about the healthcare system. The health insurance system. So United States in other countries, and we will cover what are the big differences of the United States healthcare system, and other countries who deploy the national healthcare system. So in that point, we will have the opportunity to compare them. So the next article is more holistic one, because it compares and it actually introduces the factors of the society level of factors, or the mechanisms what are impacting the inequality of the health or the health conditions. So this is based on the journal, The Sociology of Health and Illness. So it's based on the European countries. So usually the Britain or the Great Britain or the United Kingdom. So many of the studies were based on the European basis and the England basis, right? The United Kingdom and the Great Britain. Anyway, so this article is introducing the possible topics of the social factors, and what are the social factors impacting on the health inequalities. So many of the social factors are mentioned in this article that will be the topics of the weekly topics of this course. So you will see many of those articles in the following weeks. So the first one is very prevalent and the famous one, very popular social factor in health. So you can see that in all the intergenerational relationships and intergenerational transfers, the wealthier family, the wealthier father and mother and the wealthier parents, they can inherit more riches, the resources, or their network, their education level, and their behavior and their knowledges. So in the previous the class, we had the article that the fundamental causes of the theories. So their wealth level, their social economic status, that impacts on the risk factors. And then the differentiated risk factors by their social class, they are impacting the differentiated risks and the health outcomes in their later generations. So that will be a big part of the chain, the vicious chain of the health inequality, because unhealthy parents or less educated and less wealthier and the lower class the parents, they will have the poverty, and the poverty will be transferred to their outer and later generations. So that will be very prevalent and very popular logic and the mechanism how those health inequality came, how those health inequality persistent to whole generations. So that will be a big part of many theories in many articles we are covering in this semester. And also, it is natural that the wealthier people, surely the wealthier people, they were trying more and they were paying more money, for example, and they were paying sometimes more time in their education. That will be possible. The big problem is the distribution of the wealth. So if the system is the winner takes it all system, it means that the very small proportion of the higher class people, if they just secure the majority of the health and the majority of the wealth in that country, there will be a big problem. So social class itself, that's not the matter of the criticization. So in that perspective, we do value their the diligence and their efforts and their investment. That will be great. But if that is too disproportionately focused on, concentrated on too small proportion of people, that distribution might be very problematic because most of the people are suffering from the problems of the social issues. That will be thing. And another aspect is the social geography, which means the neighborhood effect and the regional, some kind of the segregation. There are many topics of the saying that the racial disparities and the regional segregation, and those segregation are impacted by the income inequalities and the racial composition inequalities and other types of inequalities. And you can see that the black neighborhood, they are facing more poverty. They are grounded with the more poverty neighborhood. However, the white people, they are more likely to be surrounded with the similar peers and similar the level of the social classes. So, very compared with the African American people, white people are less likely to be surrounded with the poor neighborhood. So in this type of the spatial variations, is also increasing the pre-existing inequalities because they are surrounded with a more poor and better equipped the health facilities and the less investment on the education system and the decreased level of the social network and the chances to have the referrals and also the find the jobs. That will be the big part of the inequality and the persistent level of the spatial inequalities in the United States. So you can see that based on the race, the black children and the white children, when they were poor in their younger or the earlier part of their life course, there are very less likelihood of the becoming the top earners as adults. So you can see that those are very separated. So African American children, they are staying in this part and this part, the middle and the lower part of the United States. The Chicago, sorry about that, the Chicago. And other part, the suburb area on these are mostly occupied by the white children who are in the top honors. So these are based on many policies. They are too many intertwined issues because these are also related with the inner city problem and also the poor in the neighborhood and the many of the failures of the government housing issues. So these are impacting so many issues, not only the health issues, but also the economic issues and also the other impact of the disaster. Because the book named the heat wave that mentioned there was the big heat wave in the Chicago, and so many people died in within 1 week because of the super big impact of the heat weather. So the people who don't have a good electricity system, for example, they could not have some level of the stable connection of the electricity, and they could not cool down the big heat wave. So the poor people and the elderly people, and they were very vulnerable to the heat wave. So many people died a lot in that the weather system. So maybe we can experience that in very snowing weather, if they are living in the government housing, very easily get the blackout of the electricity and breakout of the pipes with the impacting on the supply of the water, that will be impacting their the security level and the safety level. So these are very big issues of the spatial inequality based on the investment. And the race and gender, also very conventional and the classical issues of the inequality. And maybe I don't need to talk more details about it, because there are racial inequalities and the gender inequalities, and they are also intertwined and interplay together, because even though women are more discriminated and women are more the less earning the group of the gender compared with the male, the white or female are more likely earning more compared with the black males. So based on the race and gender, there are so many differentiations of their social class and the earning and the education. And then that will impact on the risk factors, as we mentioned in the fundamental causes theory. And then those differentiated the risk factors are impacting on the different level of the healthes. And then the socioeconomic status, these are also they overlap each other with the social class and education in other race issues. But the problem is that the unemployment. So unemployment is very detrimental and very risky factor in all types of the social issues, including the health condition and the mental health, the physical health and the mental health, and the risks of the suicide and the family dissolution, and all those kind of social problems and the issues negative issues, they are impacted by the risks of the social economic condition, usually the unemployment. And you already well know about the unemployment issue in the current United States because of the COVID-19. And it was 14.7, but that was increased a lot after that. So that will be the current and very big issue. So we will cover more about the social class and its social class issues and social economic class issues of the health in the later in this semester. And the health inequalities are also based on the wealth level and the power, income, wealth. These are very tied with the social economic status. So that will be covered a lot in the following week. And lastly, we also have the issue of the life course perspective. It means that so any kind of the poverty and disadvantage that doesn't exist at some point of time, but those kind of disadvantages are very prevalent and very consistent, and even those disadvantages are getting worse and worse as cumulative disadvantages. For example, if the people was born in poor family, poor class family, they are more likely to have the birth defects and the low birth weight, for example. And then those the low birth weight and the less likelihood of the very good care system, these are impacting on the health level in the infant and the total period and the childhood, the education inequality, and the working age and others, the inequality by the social network and the knowledge, the flexible knowledge we learned in the last article. And those kind of the health defects and health problems will be accumulated in the later life. So that will be the big issue. And these are the examples. So more the comparison between the most and the least deprived in the England, the least deprived people are enjoying and staying in the safer place. The low birth weight, the 2 times more risk for the more deprived people, and there are super higher, so very higher risks of the health risks for the most deprived, the most deprived groups of the society. Right. So these are the main the findings and the summaries of the articles that we assigned today. And as I mentioned in the earlier part of the video, I mean the first video, because of the inclement weather, and I know so many of you, so I believe some of you are not impacted by the weather, but I know that some of you, or probably many of you, are impacted to the weather condition directly or indirectly. So I decided to give you more time for the RAP 3 and the writing assignment 1 until this Sunday, but I will give you more 2 days. So the new due of those 2 assignments will be next Tuesday. All right, so thank you for your time, and I hope you are staying safe and warm. And take care not to catch a cold, because the cold, as you know, cold this season is very, very serious and very severe. Stay warm and take care of you. Take well care of you. All right, thank you for your time, and see you next week.